Le prochain intervenant, M. Shtern. S'il vous plaît.
Happy New Year to all, to councillors, Mr. Chairman, the mayors, and Mayor Tremblay. Mr. DeSousa, my first question is this. In 2004, the OCPM stated that offensive uses and housing don't mix, and that means one shall not build close to new developments if they are near railways, major roads, etc. And the Commission recommended that residential land use designations be disallowed for sites neighbouring rail yards and tracks that carry freight trains, major corridors, and also the noise footprint of the Pierre Elliott Trudeau airport. So my question is this. Since 2004, nothing has done, and yet in Edmonton and the Roberts Bank Specific Gateway Transportation Project in Vancouver and also Ontario have adopted railway setbacks. And now we hear that perhaps the Airport de Montreal, under their Sunscape Management Advisory Committee, has recommended that flights be diverted towards a southern route over perhaps Meadowbrook and near the Mercier Bridge during curfew hours. So my question is this. When will the Montreal Agglomeration adopt proximity rules with respect to new developments and rail yards and railways?
DeSousa.
Mr. President, Mr. Shtern, thank you for your question. Just before I get to the heart of your question, let me just say that I attended a Sound Management Committee meeting just this past week on the southern flight path that they're looking at, and from what I hear and from what they're saying, they still haven't got Transport Canada permission yet, but they've been in consultations with the Borough of Lachine, with LaSalle. It does not appear that according to them, that they're considering anything going over Côte Saint-Luc, for that matter. So they have already, with regard to noise, spoken to, and I haven't done this, but they tell me they've spoken to some of the communities who they think might be directly affected to get their comments and to get their feedback. With regard to the specific setbacks you're referring to under the urban plan, I'm not responsible for urban planning, nor for the Montreal urban plan. My colleague is not here, but I will take your comment under advisement and find out what measures have been taken or what plan to be taken with a view to setbacks for residential developments from railway yards. At the present time, it may have been one of the items that was already addressed in the urban plan before it was adopted by this council. Because the report that you're making about the OCPM was part of the public consultative mechanisms that were done prior to the urban plan being adopted here in November 2004. So my gut tells me that it was considered, and perhaps you'll just allow me to find out the answer and get back to you how it was considered and how it was dealt with before council adopted that plan.
That's appreciated, though. According to my understanding, Montreal has not yet adopted any type of such proximity rules. I'd also like to give you and Monsieur Lavallee, Mayor Tremblay, Mayor Dauphin, and Michael Applebaum copies of information with regards to proximity rules and where you can find out further information. My second question has to do with a rail corridor that does go through your vicinity, Mr. DeSousa, the Doney Spur. Very recently in the Gazette, Linda Goulet had an article which featured several of the projects that the agglomeration will be going forward, and it was also noted that the AMT is planning to study the viability of the Doney Spur as a light rail tram train corridor. My question is this. will you try to convince your fellow councillors? To include the Doney as part of your transportation projects?
Okay.
Monsieur DeSousa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm not aware of any studies that are being done. I saw the same article as you, but clearly either my colleague Andre Lavallee has, as part of the overall transportation, considered a variety of measures, and further to the deposition of the council of the consultations by this commission of the Agglomeration Council and the Montreal City Agglomeration. He's considering all of the different measures that came out from the community. He's expected to consider all of those and ultimately propose to both councils, a transportation plan. Clearly, I understand that people made representations in this regard as part of those, and I'm hopeful that he'll take that into account in the final plan that he'll propose. I think we'll just have to wait and see what he brings forth.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ceci met fin à la période de questions du public. Nous passons à la période de questions des conseillers. Madame Doney.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le Président. Ma question est vraiment sur un item à l'ordre du jour, mais j'ai pensé de le poser maintenant et ça permettrait peut-être à quelqu'un de penser à la réponse un peu avant. La question est par